The only reason why you're so infatuated with suffering, with struggling, is because you are afraid to move forward and you're so used to trauma. Welcome or welcome back. It's your favorite mental health specialist, aka your favorite motivational teacher, Ty Guidance. And yeah, we're here, and we're gonna get straight into the video. So with that being said, don't mind this lace wig, I'm gonna have to adjust it. But you see this comment, hopefully it's on the screen. If not, throughout the video you'll see it. But a lot of people feel like they have to feel stuck in the past, and I just want to understand, why would you want to? If you grew up in poverty, if you grew up abused, if you were SA, if you were homeless, why would you want to continue to relive these fears or this trauma that was installed onto you, that you were exposed to, or that you've been projected onto? And yes, we need a moment of silence, because over here, we use our mind. We use our mind to the fullest potential, not to the point where we're overthinking and we're overanalyzing and, we have anxiety and we're anxious, but to the point we have a level of understanding, we have a level of discernment, and most importantly, we can make better decisions. Everybody has a past, including myself, and that's why, as your favorite mental health specialist, I make these videos, because I too have made certain choices where I had to learn from them and I had to outgrow from them, but I did not allow it to affect me. Is everyone me? No. That's why I'm here to make these videos. Like, everybody goes through things, and a lot of times you do need people like me, your favorite mental health specialist, aka your favorite rich auntie, if you know, you know, to inform you and to reassure you that it is okay. Like, when you grow up in dysfunction, when you come from a certain background and it's corrupted, it's negative, it's low vibrational, that's all you know. So as your favorite mental health specialist, these are some recommendations on how we're going to learn to let go of the past. The first thing you have to realize is what is in your control. If you come from poverty, it's not your fault. You didn't ask to be born. Now, just because everything is not always our fault does not mean that you blame everybody else, your parents, your caregivers. Trigger warning. This is going to be a trigger warning type of video. The reason why is because they too did not ask to be born. It's a cycle. So for those of you who are intuitive, whether it's spirituality or religion, these are generational curses that we have to break. Being chosen, living a certain type of life, it's not for everybody. So take what resonates, leave the rest. So once you realize what you have control over, you then can realize how certain situations affected you. So this now requires you to communicate. When it comes to healing, as your favorite mental health specialist, a naturopathic physician, if you were to go to a therapist or guidance counselor or anybody with this type of experience, or just anybody that you confide in, you have to talk about how it made you feel. A lot of people sweep their problems underneath the rug because maybe, like I said, you didn't have the support, you didn't have the family, you didn't have the caregivers to communicate and express yourself to. Maybe if you did, those were the people that were touching on you. Maybe these were the people that were trying to silence you and isolate you and gaslight you. Or maybe you're just afraid because you've been so traumatized, but you have to be okay with releasing it. You have to realize what we have control over, what you have control over, and you have to talk about it. So the next thing is going for you, the next thing you're going to do, it requires you is to lift up that rug or to open the closet with all the skeletons. You cannot be embarrassed or ashamed about your past. You cannot be embarrassed or ashamed about your past. I'm speaking from experience. I've too had to make certain choices with not knowing what I know now at the big age of 28. I am not going to beat myself up or shame myself, my younger self, my 18-year-old self, my 8-year-old self, for not knowing what I know now. That's not fair. It's not fair to be so hard on yourself, especially when you didn't know any better. Now, of course, because we're big on accountability, if you knew better, if you had the resources, if you had the guidance, if you have the wisdom, if you had the finances, and people told you, hey, don't touch the stove because it's going to burn you, and then you took it upon yourself, you have to take accountability. I'm not here to judge people, but a lot of people who relate to my videos, we don't know any better. And if you are the opposite person and you decide to be in your ego, or you thought you was prideful, or you thought you was holier than God, answers the universe, you're going to have to learn the lesson just like everybody else. And that's just what it is. We're here to learn lessons. We don't have to be stuck in our past just because something happened to us. And until you learn how to talk about it, until you learn how to be vulnerable, and until you learn how to really just address it, it's going to constantly be in your mind. And that's why people have the anxiety. That's why people are so depressed. That's why people are just always overwhelmed. That's why people are constantly having so much envy and insecure, because they're not trying to seek help. You watch so many other things on social media. If you're going to come across these videos, make sure that you're, applying the information. You take what resonates, you leave the rest. You book a service, and a session. You get some type of assistance from either like a guidance counselor, therapist, but it's just like, until you do the work, until you sit with yourself, until you confront that version of you that no longer exists, it's going to be an issue. And this only takes a lot of time, energy, and effort when you refuse to do it. When you try to act like you don't have trauma, when you try to act like you was not touched on inappropriately by your family members, by your parent, by your coworkers, and you grow up, you're wondering why you're so sexually active. You feel embarrassed. You feel like you're a whore. You feel like you're a slut. You're not those things. You have to realize you're the only person who knows who you are at the end of the day. And a lot of people, it's a lot of wickedness in the world. For some people, it's not like that for everybody. But nobody wants to grow up and be SA. Nobody wants to be the person grooming these people. But people are afraid. You cannot be afraid. So the main thing I really want you to know, as you're learning to communicate, as you learn to talk about what it is, once you realize what you have control over and you decide that you want to do better, is to own up to it. So if you were SA at an early age and you didn't know it was appropriate, or you didn't have help and you used to be embarrassed or used to be ashamed, you need to own up to it. I need you to write a letter to your younger self and let them know, as the version of you right now, who you are, that you apologize, that you love them, reassure them, and learn from your mistakes. That's the same thing that I have to do. I've had to apologize to my younger self. I had to apologize to myself. I've had to yell, cry, scream, shout, whatever I had to do. And I just had to say, you know what? I'm no longer going to allow this to happen. And that's it. It's no reason why we have to feel so stuck in the past. And honestly, when people judge you, those are the most hypocritical people. Those type of people, I don't even pay them any mind, because it's just people like to judge people for stuff that they do privately, and I don't like that. Now, of course, as an adult, if you're an OG, if you're responsible, an adult is not a specific age, it's how you carry yourself. There are some things I feel like that should be monetized, that should be censored, that should be with, consent. But it's grown people could talk about what they did without shame and judgment, because everybody's done things. Like I said, I am just vocal and I'm just honest, and I don't mind posting this on the internet, because who's anybody supposed to be to me? You know what I'm saying? You know what you go through at the end of the day. You're the only person who has to live with yourself. And you have a lot of people in this world who put on these full, people say clown suits or masks. And it's just for what? When you could just own up to the fact that, you know what? When I was I don't know, if you're somebody, like I said, who was just going through what you went through, you don't need to be embarrassed of the things that you go through. Anybody who tries to make fun of you or talk about you, they're just not worthy of your time. And that's what you have to realize too. When you're going through things, it's important to have people who genuinely care about you. Now, of course, from experience, everyone's not your favorite mental health specialist. Everyone's not your favorite rich auntie. Everyone does not study Everyone does not study psychology. People are not empathetic. So don't expect that from everyone, okay? Everyone's not me. Everyone's not you. Everyone's not us. But in our community, we keep it demure, as the kids would like to say. You do have to realize that, because once you could take full responsibility, once you own up to it, whatever people think about you is just an opinion. And I've been like this my entire life, you guys. It has nothing to do with my astrological sign, okay? That's just what it is. You have to know that you, for example, myself, I was 20 years old in 2017 and I got fired. That was the first time I've ever been fired. The first and only time I got fired, because shortly after I became an entrepreneur. But at the time, me being 20 years old, I was working since I was 17. I was working since I was in 11th grade. My first job, I was working at Chuck E. Cheese. At this point, I'm financially taking care of myself, and I was a finance representative. I was making close to $40,000 a year. I was getting paid $1,000 every month at 20. So I thought I was rich back in the day. And I got fired, and I remember during that time, I was just upset, because up until that point, did not struggle financially. I've been very privileged for the first 20 years of my life. So when I got fired and shortly after I got into a car accident, so I didn't have a car, I lost my job, I realized that when I was going through that dark time, the people who I thought were my friends were talking about me. The people that I was willing to drive them to work, drive to different states, pull up for them when they needed a ride, weren't there for me. I had to realize, like, okay, instead of me being angry, instead of me being frustrated, just realize what I can do. And like, that's it. Like, you just need to know that there's a solution to your problems. That's how you're going to be able to move forward from your past. But you have to talk about it. Like, being broke, Nicki Minaj said it, broke people should never laugh. And I agree with her. And broke for me is not broke for everybody else. So like, don't be so content on what the actual situation is. Be more so content on how it makes you feel, because it's not to invalidate you. Like, for somebody who's always been privileged and who's always had money and likes materials because that's what they are, I was upset. I wasn't upset because in spirit I was broke, or like because I didn't have materials. I was upset because I've never experienced that before. But after my birthday, after the time that I was fired, looking at it now, 8 years later, I needed that to happen to me. And that's a different topic for a different video. Like, we are going through certain things so we can learn about ourselves, because that's what we're here for. The people and the places and things that traumatize you, even the people that touched on you, it is for you to have boundaries. And it also lets you know who you need to put your trust into. Like, me getting fired, it showed me how a lot of people felt about me. And honestly, you need to learn how to be thankful. Like, it does take a while to look at it. Like, it does take some years, because like I said, healing is not a one size fit all, you guys. It could take years, days, months. Everyone is different. You know your situation. But after looking at it now, I'm thankful, because had I not would have gone through those things, one, I wouldn't have became the entrepreneur that I am now, and two, I wouldn't have realized how slimy people were around me. And people talking about people being broke, like, that's not funny. I would never laugh or make fun of somebody because they're not. Like, you're crazy. That's sick. It's psychotic. And as your favorite mental health specialist, we're here to talk about it. Like, making fun of people because they don't have money is disgusting. Like, I don't even like to talk about that type of stuff, you guys. But yeah, like, when you go through things, you don't have to feel stuck and stagnant. Like, you do need to have a good community around you. You do need to vocalize how you feel. And I'm challenging you to write a letter to yourself. And you need to learn how to get into therapy. You could book a service. I keep stuttering. You could book a service or a session with me, your favorite mental health specialist, at my website at tyguidancesummer.com. You can get your first consultation. Okay, I don't know why it's so hard for me to get these words out. Okay, or if you can't afford a session, just let me know what you guys want to talk about. I'm here to make these videos on YouTube for free. FREE, that spells free. creditreport.com, baby. You guys remember that commercial, or are you too young? As well as my TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All the information will be down in the description box below. But it's like, we don't need to be stuck in our past. Own up to your past. Yell, cry, scream, and shout. Throw the tantrum. Find somebody that you trust and confide in. Pray, go to God, answer to the universe, meditate. But it's like, you still have to keep moving forward. Because what happens is, the longer you sit in the trauma, as the time goes by, you're going to feel paralyzed. That's why people have PTSD. You feel paralyzed. You have to learn how to move forward. Now, of course, I am not you. You're not me. I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I do have experience. This is a skill. The reason why my energy is very much so like such is because I've been installed this. Everyone doesn't know what I know. So it's like, you got to take what resonates, leave the rest. You don't have to compare yourself. You don't have to feel insecure, but you have to make a decision. If you're going to watch Ty Guidance's videos on this account, because I do have other social medias, you got to take your life seriously. It's a time and a place, okay? But it's like, when it comes to you moving forward, you just have to accept what it was. And you have to learn how to forgive yourself for not knowing what you know now. Because if you knew that certain things were not appropriate, if I knew that I had to do certain things to keep a job, don't you think we would have done them? And like I said, if you didn't, you learn now, because that's what it is. Like, you have some people in this world who are hard-headed. Some people are naive. Some people don't have the resources. Some people are ignorant. Then you have people who choose to be willfully ignorant. And those type of people, I don't really have sympathy for you. I'm gonna be honest. At your big age, if you're my age, like 28, 30, if you're 30 and older, I don't really have that much sympathy, because just like, you know better. Younger people, I have a lot more understanding for them. Like, I'm an auntie, like I said, I'm a rich auntie in real life. I give them a little bit more grace, but it's like, as an adult, you have to make certain decisions, and that's what nobody's gonna tell you as you grow older in life. So if you guys have questions, comments, concerns, give this video a big thumbs up, wipe your face, okay? Write that letter to yourself. We gotta talk about it. We're gonna get some tissues, and we're gonna continue to move on and live our best life, because we have goals and people and places, things to achieve. And the past is the past, and the best feeling about the past is once you let it go, you could continue to live your life. And anybody who tries to use it against you or bring it up, like, let them be where they are. And you have to realize that, like, old people, I'm gonna keep it cute, but like, people who are no longer in my life, I can care less about what they have going on. I can care less about them asking me certain questions. Don't ask me about people you don't see me with, okay? Because it's just like, that was then, this is now. And if people want to keep that version of you, let them stay in the past. But just because other people are in the past doesn't mean that you have to be there, because for what? The time is going to go by regardless, okay? I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.